Hey, what's up, people? It's Movado 242. I wanted to bring your attention to an interview I just watched. Cenk Uygur of the Young Turks did with Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene. Now, of course, these two are on different sides of the aisle ideologically, but they come together on a unifying point that I think a lot of us will agree on. And that's something that we have to start doing. We need to start finding paths where we can communicate with those people who may have different ideological ideas or different political ideas. We need to start coming together on those things that we can come together on as a people and then work our way onto the other things. But if you just always put down the other side and they're always putting down you, you're never going to get anywhere with that. So let's take a listen to this, to the points that she's bringing out that she's going to do something about, or at least she's going to try to do something about.
My argument is it's not anti-Semitic to say that America should keep our money and invest our own hard-earned tax dollars in our own interest, especially for a country like Israel that is nuclear armed and that is doing so well economically, they're able to provide state-funded healthcare and college. I don't think that's a country that needs our assistance, especially how they've shown the entire world that they're very capable of annihilating and wiping out their enemies. I completely believe money's a factor. I watch it every single day here in Congress. The people that I work with, who they're funded by, affects their votes. I'm just unapologetically fed up with it all.
Now joining us, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Congresswoman from Georgia's 14th Congressional District. Representative Greene, welcome back to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on tonight.
No problem. I understand you have big news for us. There is something you are considering introducing tomorrow. What is that?
Well, actually, I've already introduced them. This week here in Congress, we're doing the National Defense Authorization Act, which is our annual funding for our military. And our military budget should be very focused on our country, on our military, and strictly for defense purposes. However, once again, there is funding for foreign countries, foreign causes, foreign aid, and foreign defense of foreign nations. And so I've introduced multiple amendments to strip that funding out, specifically to defund $600 million for Ukraine. So I've got one amendment to do that. And then I have a second amendment to take out any funding because I found out that one of my colleagues is trying to add more money in for Ukraine. I have two amendments that strip funding from Israel. This would be $500 million. Israel already receives $3.8 billion annually from the United States government. I'm a big believer in defunding all foreign aid and all foreign funding for all foreign countries. So I've introduced two amendments, one to get the $500 million out of the NDAA. The $3.8 billion goes in the state and foreign ops appropriations bill, so that's separately. And I had done amendments for that. And then I have another amendment that takes out another $105 million. This one is $55 million for Israel's counter-drone program and another $70 million for anti-tunnel cooperation. So it's just important. We're $37 trillion in debt. We shouldn't be funding foreign countries, basically because America's broke, and we really need to get focused on our own country and our own people's problems.
So those are some pretty aggressive steps she's trying to take, and I hope she's successful. You know, like I said, I don't agree with her on everything, but the things that I do agree with her on, this is definitely one of them. And we need to do more of that instead of just lashing out and criticizing someone just because they're a Republican or just because they're a Democrat. They may have some good ideas every once in a while, but you'll never know if you don't take time to listen. And this is definitely something that should be acceptable to every American. You know, we have people that are struggling to make ends meet, inflation, people can't pay medical bills. And here we are, we're funding this foreign government, and they're giving their people free college, free medical, all at our expense. and still giving them money for weapons, shortcutting our own supplies just to provide them with weapons they need. So we're putting ourselves at a disadvantage, all because this little country has so much control over our politicians. I once saw something that said, this guy was saying, every politician, most of the Republicans and Democrats too, have what they call an APAC handler. And they take these politicians on trips, they provide them with money. And I think Cynthia McKinney was talking about it. I was listening to her a few times, and she was saying that when you first get elected, you get the talk, and if you don't toe the line and follow the policy, then they're going to give somebody money to put you out of office. And she had to leave the country. She's out of the country now. I'm not sure if she's back or not, but there are certain politicians that stand up, and something usually happens to them, or they get voted out of office. But yeah, Jim Traficant, politician out of Ohio, he was outspoken. He ended up dying on an accident on his tractor. It's always something. There's always these coincidences that just happen, and we just sit around and watch it and say, "Oh, well, sorry about that." But at some point in time, we are either going to hit the bottom of the barrel, and we're close to the bottom of the barrel now with $37 trillion in debt and counting. And yet we are still sending money by the billions out to foreign countries and foreign militaries. How can this be sustained indefinitely? It can't. And I've spoken on it before. When you study the life cycles of empires, the two things that show up near the end of that life cycle is military expansion and debasement of the currency. And you are witnessing both of those at this point. So I applaud Ms. Greene on her stance. And if we had more politicians like her, at least on this point, we could start making some headway on some things. But it's set up, the system is designed to be this way, because the people that really benefit from this, they don't care if you have a Republican or a Democrat. Their cut is going to still be the same. It's only us, the little minions, who argue and squabble over crumbs from the Democrats or crumbs from the Republicans, and our team is better than your team, and it just goes on and on. It pains me to see people. I've seen friendships broken over arguing over politics, over a person that you'll never see, would never probably ever get close to, and if you did, they probably wouldn't even shake your hand. But you're going to stop speaking to a lifelong friend just because you have difference in politics. It just doesn't make sense, but that's the way the system works. The Hegelian dialectic. Keep these sides occupied and don't worry about who the real oppressor is. Just keep arguing with this little guy over here on the other side of the fence, and we'll be happy. So let's wish Ms. Greene, or Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, success on getting this bill passed, and maybe getting some of her colleagues in there to help things out. All right, peace.